Well, welcome to another question time with Tim. And today, the question that I want to respond to is one that many of you relate to, and that is, why do people from complex trauma struggle with analysis paralysis? So they analyze themselves to death to the point of being paralyzed. Obsessive overanalyzing. What's that all about? And I want to give you several things that to me come out of complex trauma in childhood that help explain that. So the very first one is when a child gets a problem in a healthy home and they don't know the answer to it, mom and dad come and help them process it. They give them extra information, and the child is able to see the solution, the right path of action, and it's resolved, and they can stop thinking about it. But what happens to a child where they have a problem, but nobody's giving them input, nobody's helping them process, they're just being criticized, they feel all alone, they're left to their own bit of limited information, and they just start processing, trying to figure it out. And they keep having the belief in their brain that if I just think about this long enough, I'm sure I'll somehow find a solution. And so it comes out of this very real issue for a child in complex trauma. When they can't resolve an issue, their brain can't let it go. Their brain just has to keep thinking about it. But there's a second piece to it, and that is for many children when they face decisions. So if you think, okay, if I do this, if I fail, it'll hurt a little bit, but I could learn from it, and etc. I'll have some pain, but it won't be that big of a deal. But what happens often in complex trauma is if you fail, then you get criticized, you get somebody angry at you, you get somebody that punishes you, you get somebody that withdraws love from you, you get humiliated, you get shamed. So now if you fail in a decision by picking the wrong course of action, it's not just the pain of going through that failure, it's all of the other pain that gets heaped on it, emotional pain. And so now decisions don't just have consequences in real time, they have emotional consequences about how people will respond to you. And so what a child learns is there's got to be a right choice where I can get this perfectly, because to get it wrong makes my world unsafe. That is a huge emotional risk for the person. So think more before you act. And over time, you can see how a child then gets stuck in thinking to make sure they're not going to make a mistake. So what you can begin to realize is the child is developing a belief that you think longer in order to stay safer. So now you overanalyze to the point of analysis paralysis. So what they're doing in that is the third thing, and that is they're trying to eliminate all uncertainties. And so this is the person now that thinks, if I just get more information, if I know more details, if I can somehow predict the future, if I can see it from every possible angle, then I'll never make a mistake. There won't be any surprises. There won't be any problems, because I will have thought through every possible scenario perfectly. So what they're not understanding is that real life always has some elements of uncertainty. We can get lots of stuff figured out with certainty, but there's always going to be bits of uncertainty that we have to accept, and we make decisions based on the information we've got in light of the bit of uncertainty that we haven't been able to resolve. But to a child from complex trauma, I got to get rid of uncertainty, so I need more information, I need to be sure, so I got to think a bit longer. Analysis paralysis. But what that then can lead to, so again, if you look at your ventral vagal state, your safe connected state, what has happened in this child initially is they've gone to their sympathetic vagal state. I'm in danger. I got to find a solution. And their brain is going really, really hard. But what happens when they get to the point where they're not finding a solution. This is now starting to feel overwhelmed. They go now to their freeze response, their dorsal vagal state, where, okay, this is too much. I can't find a solution. Let's just shut down. And now they go from analysis to paralysis. They are unable to act now. There's too many options. There's too much to consider. There's too many things that could go wrong. There's too much uncertainty. So let's just procrastinate. Let's just stop thinking. Let's just distract ourselves because we can't figure it out. We can't resolve it. And so now you're in paralysis. So this is not laziness. This is the nervous system becoming immobile to try to protect somebody when they can't resolve a problem. There's another piece here that I think is important to understand for many people, and that is there's this internal conflict that's going on inside of them whenever they face a decision that involves shame and fear. So if they are going to go to do something, then they go, if I choose this, I might fail. That's fear. If I do this, somebody might get mad at me. That's shame. Or I might look stupid, or I might disappoint somebody, or I might risk putting myself out there and people will notice me and now they'll have expectations of me. But if I don't act, then I stay stuck, and I don't want to do that either. And so I want to act, but I'm afraid to act. I should stay stuck, but I'm afraid to stay stuck. And so there's this internal war that goes on that is really controlled by fear, shame, that keeps them in paralysis, that keeps them stuck. So what you begin to realize is you get locked into this prison where every option now for them contains some threat, some danger. So they can't find an option that is danger-free. So therefore, they become paralyzed. And then the final one is that for many people that come out of complex trauma who weren't taught to think, who weren't taught to process information, how to find out information, how to weigh out options, how to go through pros and cons. They never got the tools of critical thinking, of decision making, of weighing out priorities, seeing big picture, looking at it from different angles in a healthy way. They do not have the tools or the confidence to make decisions. And so now when they face decisions, they're paralyzed. They think, but they're afraid to act because they don't have the confidence that they've thought it through properly. And so that's where they'll often go to somebody else they respect and hope that that person will make the decision for them because they're afraid to make it themselves. And it's not an immaturity necessarily, it's a lack of tools. It's they were never given the help to do it. And so they're trying to outsource decision-making to other people. And so it's really important for those other people to not just jump in and feel like a hero and make decisions for them, but to help them learn how to think. I hope you're beginning to see is a person stuck in analysis paralysis is trying to avoid shame, trying to avoid danger, trying to avoid failure or regrets, trying to maintain control. It's all about protection, but it fails because they have never been taught how to resolve stuff. So a key shift for people is not, I need to make a perfect decision. It is, I need to learn how to think. I need to learn to live with some uncertainty. I need to learn how to deal with potential failure by having safe people in my life who will help me.